Welcome back to another episode of Sal and Pals Go to the Movies. This is another Throwback Thursday review, and I'm here with my friend Touly. Say hi, Touly.
Hi, guys.
And today we're going to be reviewing the movie Primer. And just fair warning, there's going to be spoilers up ahead, so you've been warned. For entrepreneur friends, knowing that there's something bigger and more innovating than the different error-checking devices they built, wrestle over a new invention. My first pro of this film is that it has to do with time travel. And you know me, I really love a good time travel movie that dives into paradoxes or tries to explain time travel. This movie, I saw it back in college for the first time. Someone pointed it out to me and I saw it. They said it was a low budget movie. I said, let's watch something. So we watched it. I had to go back and rewatch it a second time because I'm like, it captivated me and something about it pulled me into it and brought me back to it to watch it again. I just love how it mainly focuses on two main characters with little addition of some few side characters that are just there to fluff up the movie or fill some scenes. Overall, it's just focused on two main characters, and that's who we see, Aaron and Abe, and they basically just make the movie. It goes through their lives. My next point is that there is no famous cast in this movie. It's a low budget movie, like I said, but it really leaves an impression on you, and that's the idea or the concept behind the plot of the movie. I rewatched this movie, like I said, many times, and I still enjoy the film, even though it's a rough film and some edits and transition might be a little mismatched. Instead of saying that the filming of the film is bad, I want to say that it shows on evolving and decaying side by side with the characters, since we do see them suffer through some side effects of time travel. Now, moving on to my cons. Some of the dialogue was not believable, or they wanted us to believe that that's how engineers really talk, really fast and straight to the point. But for us watching a movie, it would be better if they explain their concepts, giving us a little example instead of just saying, remember this? And, it's like, oh, yeah, sure, I remember that. Stuff like that. For me, it just felt like it was rushed. Also, some of the dialogue in the scenes are a bit awkward. It seems like there's lines missing that they could have done another take and gotten it down. For example, when they're in the garage and the guy who shows up at the party with shotgun is first introduced into the film, that interaction with the three characters saying, what did you just say? It felt like it was awkward or mismatched, but I do get the idea behind it because it's a low budget film, so I give them leeway. And then this leads into some of the logic or the reasoning behind time travel that is rushed, and it's not really explained, like I said, to the audience who would probably want to seek more reason behind the way they're time traveling or what's happening to them. I know they showed it with the writing in the notebooks, but you could also tell the audience a little more about the machines or explain what the machine does, because there is multiple people coming out of the machine. It's not just the same Aaron, the same Abe. There are different versions of them. So explain that a bit. But I guess in a way, that's what makes this film unique. It really wants you to come back and watch it the same way that Aaron and Abe are time traveling back in time. People will want to watch this film again to see if they can understand the explanation of the film better. As far as paradoxes, I feel they broke one rule that was established since the beginning: do not interact with yourself. When one of the characters went back and grabbed himself and put himself in the attic, wouldn't you touching yourself kind of interfere because you're two people sharing the same timeline? And like I said, we're speculating here because it's been established in other films, or is this film taking liberties and saying, hey, it's my time travel and I make the rules? But it just didn't really feel well that they said, don't talk to yourself, don't meet yourself, and one of the guys did it. And the whole idea that I came up with is that when that happened, he messed up something in the timeline, and that is why the whole plan of getting rich got screwed up. And since there isn't a Q&A with the director, that question would probably still be open forever. So I guess with that, I'm going to pass it on to my friend Touly, see how he saw the movie and what grade he gave the movie.
Yeah, a time travel film that focuses, at least to me, more on the idea of time traveling versus the desire of wanting to go back in time. I guess in this case, to become rich through the stock market. But I do appreciate a film like this that tries to focus on what would happen if you mess with time, and seeing these characters go through this and try to resolve their counterparts, how to not do anything that would endanger the livelihood of not just themselves, but also worldly events. It kind of, to me, went beyond as that, because who knows what catastrophic events would have resulted if they didn't put in the effort effort to try to be as careful as they did to ensure that their other self wasn't doing stuff that would interfere with their current self. And the movie is good in that retrospect. I wouldn't call it a con, but it does get very convoluted after multiple timelines have been created, so that you as an audience trying to keep up could get a little messy. It does speak to Sal's point of maybe requiring you to watch the films multiple times. The good thing about that though is the film isn't that long. It is a little over an hour, which is good in that retrospect if you want to rewatch it over. The bad thing though, as Sal also pointed out, is because of its runtime, it does not allow for certain things of the film to sort of establish itself, either character-wise, just scene-wise, or even maybe the sort of dialogue that these characters would have that maybe would be longer or more elaborate to like explain stuff. It's like a double-edged sword there with the length of the runtime. It allows you to rewatch the film should you choose multiple times and not worry too much about how much commitment you have to make in order to watch the film. But at the same time, you are lacking content because the film is kind of short. But because the film doesn't focus primarily on their initial objective of becoming rich, but then turns immediately into a sort of film that focuses on don't mess with time travel or how to fix stuff while these time traveling events are happening, the film does become more focused in that retrospect. I'm not worrying too much about what they intended to do initially, but focuses now more on just the idea of time traveling and not to mess with it and what are they doing to try to resolve the issue. So yeah, maybe the film could have used another 10 to like 15 minutes just to elaborate on some stuff, but being able to like connect certain events to another, it's like, oh, the sound that I'm hearing in the attic, I know who that is. I know what they're trying to do. To, oh, we messed up here because this call that should have been received by yourself at the hotel or whatever has been severed because you answered the phone call in this other area instead, preventing your other self from getting to that phone, which now is causing this timeline to sort of shift. And now we need to figure out how to resolve this issue. So stuff like that. This film focuses more on the concept of time travel, which a lot of time traveling films that I've seen don't, because they use time traveling as a mechanism to sort of achieve an end goal, versus this is more about, oh, the end goal is really time traveling itself and how to resolve stuff that we ended up messing up, because at the end of the day, we're humans, we're not perfect, we keep secrets from one another, we do stuff out of selfish desires, and because of that, things become very messy, and a film like this is able to sort of show that. So if anything, this film does hone down that message of time traveling is cool and all, but you have to be extremely careful, and if you don't, things will go awry, and good job trying to fix that timeline. My overall score of this film, I did enjoy it. Maybe I wish it would have been a little longer, but the budget sort of speak to the runtime as well. You know, it wasn't a really high budget film, and the production value does highlight that. But if anything, just looking at it from like a conceptual perspective and how they wanted this concept to sort of be played out in a film, yeah, I thought that was good. I was able to follow along in that retrospect. Will require multiple watches in order to like ensure that I'm piecing the right timeline together, and you know, this character was here versus this character being here, you know, keeping all that aligned. Overall, I enjoyed the film, so I'm going to give the movie a 7 out of 10. Again, very unique approach to time traveling, and I thought the movie, in terms of like the core component, was able to capture that.
This movie, like you said, it's more about the negative effects of time travel, what you can cause or how you can mess it up, especially when they showed the side effects they were suffering. We never think of that when we see time travel movies. You know, we just say, oh, it would be cool if I can time travel, but what happens if something is happening to your body? What happens if you're decaying your body, your atoms? You know, what if something happens? You know, it is time travel. It's something, it's unknown. So the possibility is there that we are humans. We can mess up, like Touly said. That idea to me just brings it home, and it just like makes me want to watch it more, especially since we see them like start either getting paranoid and like, oh, we need to keep everything without, you know, touching things or guiding the story or the timeline a different path. And that's why the guy had the earpiece and he recorded his conversation. So if the time or the conversation was getting derailed, he can pull it back to where he wants it to go or where it needed to go. And we saw this in the basketball scene. In the audio, he was making the basket, but in that timeline, he was missing the basket. So he had to somehow pull it back to like, let's focus on what I want to do. I want to invite you to the party. And to me, it just does show the whole thing is like, we need to be very careful of what we do if we do time travel, you know, and that's the main character's main point is like, don't fuck up, you know, in a sense. And it's a warning. And both characters did kind of like split off in one sense, and one really wanted to test the limits to this time traveling timelines and everything. The other one wanted to be the cop and say, no, we have to stop this and, you know, quarantine it and quality control and just make sure everything is happening the way it's supposed to be and not derailing. And he stayed back to watch the other people that were coming out of the boxes. So I mean, this is the reason why I really enjoyed this movie. You can watch it multiple times. Like Touly said, the length of the movie is not that big, so you can fairly watch it easily. And my grade is going to be a strongly 7.5 out of 10. So I really recommend this movie. So I guess that does it for this review of Primer. Please join us next time when we are going to review The Artist.
Cut! Perfect! Beautiful. Can you give me just one more?
With pleasure.
Back to one. Okay, back to one, guys. Everybody, quiet, please. Back to one. Let's get ready to do this.
Please like, comment, and subscribe. You can find our social media links below. And like always, keep watching movies.